The Galactic Union Academy on the orbital station. Sirinth's light shimmered like a crown in the black sky above the twin moons of Felos 4. It was known across dozens of star systems as the highest center for military training in the galaxy, a place where only the most brilliant and promising cadets were accepted. On this day, the station welcomed a new class, young recruits from many species, their eyes wide with excitement and nerves. Each cadet wore their homeworld's unique gear, their armor glinting in the artificial lights, proudly showing the symbols of their planets. But among them, one figure walked alone, standing out without even trying. He wore no armor, he carried no weapon, just simple gray military fatigues and old boots that looked worn from long journeys. His name was Elias Voss, and he was human, a Deathworlder from Earth. Earth was known in galactic records as a Class 5 death world, a planet where survival was not a comfort but a daily war against nature, beasts, disasters, and even other humans. Many species considered it uninhabitable. And yet, humans not only lived there, they thrived. So when the name Elias appeared on the Academy roster, whispers had already begun. Why would a Deathworlder come here? Some muttered. Isn't Earth too primitive for this level of training? Others asked. And some, with a nervous twitch in their antennae or tendrils, simply said, "Stay away from him." Elias didn't say much. He looked around with quiet curiosity, his dark eyes always watching but never judging. His face was unreadable, as though carved from calm stone. The other cadets started calling him names behind his back. Silent, Storm, Softskin, and sometimes even Ghost Feet, because no one ever heard him coming. But Elias didn't react. He wasn't there to make friends or prove anything. He had a reason for being there, though he hadn't told anyone what it was. Orientation began in the main hall, a tall, echoing chamber lined with metal banners from every member world. Instructors stood like statues at the front while cadets formed lines by species. Elias stood alone, the only human in a sea of aliens. Some towered above him with thick armor-plated skin. Others floated using energy fields. One cadet from the moon world Veltar wore armor that hummed with heat sensors and was worth more than a cargo ship. In contrast, Elias stood with bare arms and a small duffel bag by his side. A Veltari cadet turned to him, sneering with mechanical laughter. "Where's your battle armor, Deathworlder? Forget it back on your jungle rock?" Elias looked at him, then at the others who were now watching. He gave a small tired shrug. "Don't need it," he said, his voice low but steady. A strange silence followed. Not fear, not respect, just confusion and a hint of discomfort. The instructors didn't say anything. They had seen Deathworlders before, in war zones and survival reports, but seeing one standing in their academy, without armor, without weapons, and still so calm, it was unsettling. As the cadets moved to their quarters, some couldn't stop glancing back at the human. One tried scanning him discreetly. The data made no sense. His bone density was twice normal. Heart rate slow but stable. Muscles compact, efficient. No implants, no enhancers, no sign of fear. Elias seemed like a paradox, a soldier without armor, a warrior without anger. That night, rumors spread like fire across the dorm sectors. Some claimed Elias had fought wild beasts barehanded. Others said humans trained by surviving lightning storms and magma rivers. No one knew what was true, but everyone agreed on one thing. Something about Elias Voss didn't add up, and whatever it was, they were going to find out soon enough. The sun lamps flickered inside the colossal Dakon 7 simulation arena, a place known across the galactic Union Academy for turning brave cadets into humbled learners. This wasn't just training, it was a battlefield designed to mimic real war zones, complete with simulated ambushes, moving terrain, unstable gravity fields, and high-velocity drone strikes that used stun-based weaponry. Most cadets entered, The arena for their first combat drill with a heavy mix of excitement and fear, suited up in full armor systems customized for their species. Energy shields glowing, sensors scanning, reinforced plating secured tightly to every limb. As the groups lined up in squads, one figure once again drew attention. Elias Voss, the Deathworlder, stood without armor, just his worn-out boots and standard gray fatigues. No helmet, no exosuit, not even a wrist shield. Some cadets laughed, quietly. Others just stared, trying to understand what kind of logic or madness would lead someone to face Dakon 7 unprotected. The instructors, older veterans who had seen Deathworlders only on classified missions or war reports, shared. Uncertain glances but said nothing. The rules allowed it. Armor was not mandatory, just highly recommended. The moment the alarm sounded and the red lights bathed the arena in warning tones, everything changed. The drill had started. Platforms shifted beneath their feet, wind tunnels opened, and the simulation roared to life. Drones flew overhead, unleashing blasts of blue stun energy that crackled on impact. Terrain blocks moved, creating sudden cliffs and narrow paths. The cadets spread out, firing back, dodging, shouting orders. And in the middle of this chaos, Elias moved like something out of myth. He didn't run wildly. He flowed, with each step. He dodged energy bolts by inches, sliding under falling debris and using walls as springboards to change direction mid-air. A metallic spider drone leaped at him from behind a pillar, but Elias twisted and drove his elbow into its sensor core, dropping it in one strike. He didn't stop to celebrate. Another drone fired. He ducked and rolled toward it, tore its weapon free, and used it like a staff to knock two more out of the air. The other cadets slowed, not out of choice but disbelief. Their shots missed. As they watched Elias punch a turret off its mount and throw it into a closing blast door just in time to save a reptilian cadet who had been too slow to escape. The instructors watched from the control room, one raising his eyebrows as the human leaped across a gap that had just opened in the floor, caught the edge with one hand, and pulled himself up without hesitation. The Veltari cadet from earlier, now cornered and low on power, was about to be hit by a triple drone ambush. Elias saw it. He didn't pause. He sprinted across unstable ground and threw himself between the drones and the cadet, taking 3 stun blasts straight to the chest. The aliens gasped, but Elias didn't fall. He grunted once, then charged forward and brought all 3 drones down in a blur of motion. His body moved like a machine trained by storms and chaos, but his eyes stayed sharp, watching every teammate, every threat, never losing focus. When the final alert buzzed and the simulation shut down, the arena went silent. Smoke hung in the air, and the only figure still standing upright was Elias Voss. The others were either down, recovering, or dragging themselves to their feet. Elias looked around, breathing slightly heavier now, his clothes scorched but his expression calm. He walked over to the nearest cadet and helped him up. The silence wasn't fear now. It was awe, heavy and real. The instructors marked the score. Elias had taken the highest rating ever recorded in a first-year simulation. No tech, no armor, just instinct, training, and whatever made Deathworlders different. The other cadets didn't laugh anymore. Now they wondered, what else was he? Hiding. The silence after the drill in the Dakon 7 arena didn't fade easily. Whispers followed Elias Voss wherever he walked. The alien cadets who once scoffed at him now kept their distance, not out of rudeness, but out of uncertainty. What they had seen didn't fit into anything they understood. Some argued that the simulation must have glitched, that maybe the stun weapons malfunctioned, or the drone AI ignored him by accident. But no error was found in the recordings. In fact, it was the opposite. The Academy's system had logged everything, every strike, every movement, every biometric reading, and when the data was made available to the instructors for performance review, the confusion deepened. Elias's vitals showed something nearly impossible. His heart rate had only slightly increased, his muscles didn't show stress fatigue, and his oxygen intake remained stable through the entire high-intensity scenario. He had moved like a trained soldier, fought like a war-hardened veteran, but his body reacted like someone taking a slow jog through a park. That was when the quiet respect turned into something else: unease. Rumors began to circulate in the Y dorm halls, spreading like a silent fire. Cadets from peaceful worlds started using strange phrases like soft-skinned monster or earth-made weapon. Some asked whether all humans were like this, or if Elias was part of a secret program. Was Earth hiding something from the rest of the Galactic Union? Was Elias a test subject, bioengineered for war? No one knew, and Elias didn't help matters by staying mostly silent. He went to training like everyone else, ate alone unless invited, and only spoke when someone asked for advice. When a timid aquatic cadet asked him how he had reacted so quickly in the arena, he simply said, "You watch for what others miss. The small details matter." His voice was calm, never proud, never cruel, but that only made the others more nervous. They didn't know how to respond to someone who didn't brag or even seem to care about being praised. Even the instructors began to change the way they looked at him. They spoke more carefully around him, rechecked their drills when he was involved, and even debated whether to assign him to group exercises or monitor him separately. In private, they wondered, was Elias dangerous? Not in an obvious way. He never acted out, never disobeyed, never threatened anyone. But his abilities, combined with his Deathworld origins, made him unpredictable. No one had ever seen a cadet with no armor survive Dakin 7, let alone dominate it. What if he could do more? What if he was only holding back? The mystery grew heavier when one of the Academy medics leaked a portion of Elias's simulation data during a casual conversation in the mess hall. The numbers spread fast. Elias had taken multiple stun blasts, enough to disable most cadets, yet he remained standing. The only recorded effect was a slightly raised brow and a slowed step, as if he'd felt nothing worse than a mosquito bite. Some began comparing him to ancient mythical warriors. Others started avoiding eye contact when he walked by. A few paranoid cadets moved their bunks farther away, whispering theories about secret Earth tech or hidden implants. But Elias continued his days as if nothing had changed. He still trained at dawn, read old Earth literature on his tablet, and answered questions with the same quiet tone. There was no arrogance, no threat, just a silence that made people wonder if he was hiding something deeper than strength. What scared them wasn't what he had done, it was what he hadn't done yet. And as more training simulations were scheduled, and squad-based missions began to appear on the calendar, the question hung heavier in the air. Just how far could Elias Voss go? And what would happen when someone finally pushed him too far? The announcement came without warning. In the middle of the night cycle, sirens echoed through the Galactic Union Academy dorms and blinking red lights lit up the corridors, signaling a Level 3 emergency simulation, a rare, high-difficulty test used only for advanced squad trials. The cadets were rushed to the hangar and briefed quickly. A cold volcanic moon in Sector Epsilon, known for its violent thermal storms and unstable terrain, had been chosen as the simulation site. The goal was simple in words, but brutal in execution: survive. For 72 hours as a team, without outside support. Within minutes, the dropships launched, and the cadets descended into a landscape of sharp rocks, black ash, and endless clouds swirling with lightning. The storm hit almost immediately. Blasts of wind shattered antennas, fried communications, and scattered half the supplies before they even reached the ground. Tents were blown apart, navigation beacons melted by acidic rain, and fear began to creep in. Several cadets froze, shouting in different languages, trying to regroup as their carefully rehearsed protocols fell apart under real pressure. It was chaos. Then, out of that chaos, Elias Voss stepped forward, his movement steady, as he dragged damaged supply crates under a jagged overhang to shield them from the wind. Without being asked, he started organizing what little remained, splitting rations, drying wires, and setting up heat sources using the drone battery cores. No one told him to lead. He simply acted because no one else did. At first, the other cadets didn't trust him. Some still believed the rumors that Elias was too different, too dangerous. But as the cold worsened and the situation grew more desperate, they began to follow him, one by one. When a methane vent erupted and buried their food unit, Elias disappeared into the mist for 2 hours and returned with the carcass of a lava worm, thick-skinned, glowing with internal heat, and surprisingly edible once cooked over superheated stones. When a crystalline insect bit a cadet from Xylax and poisoned his bloodstream, Elias crushed strange red plants growing near the fissures and applied a paste to neutralize the toxin. No scanner had identified the plant as useful, but Elias had noticed a pack of local animals chewing it near the volcanic pools without harm. His survival instincts, sharpened by Earth's brutal conditions, guided him where tech and theory failed. The cadets watched in quiet amazement as Elias made tools from drone scraps, found dry spots to sleep in rock cracks, and even created smoke signals that allowed lost cadets to find their way back to the group during the thickest part of the storm. What started as silent observation turned into active cooperation. A winged cadet helped him design windbreak walls using their flight membranes to test air pressure. A Waterworld cadet, once terrified of fire, worked beside Elias to maintain heat without oxygen overload. Slowly, distrust melted. They stopped, calling him Deathworlder, and started calling him the Pathfinder. The nickname came from a reptilian cadet who had nearly died in a landslide and was pulled free by Elias just seconds before the rocks buried the path. Elias never asked for thanks. He simply nodded, handed the cadet a hot drink, and said, "We move again at dawn." By the end of the 72 hours, when the Academy ships finally returned and the cadets were lifted back into orbit, something had shifted. The instructors saw it right away. These cadets weren't just survivors, they were a team. And at the center of it all stood Elias, quiet as ever, watching the stormy moon fade behind them. It was on that trial that many of them understood the truth. Elias wasn't great despite being human. He was great because of it. Earth had taught him to survive not by crushing others, but by adapting, enduring, and lifting others with him. What once seemed like fearsome mystery was now clear purpose. And for the first time, Elias Voss wasn't alone in the ranks. He had earned something far rarer than a medal. He had earned their trust. The return to Sirinth's light felt different. The same station, the same cold metal halls, the same routines. But something had changed. The cadets who had once walked past Elias Voss with suspicion or quiet laughter now glanced at him with silent respect, and some even nodded as they passed. The whispers that used to question his presence had faded into curious admiration. No one spoke about rumors anymore. They remembered the volcanic moon, the storm, the lava worm hunt, the way he moved through danger without fear and brought them back alive. It was during the official debriefing in the Central Assembly Hall that the shift became something real. Rows of cadets filled the tall chamber, and instructors stood at attention as Commandant Harrell, an elder of the avian drash species, stepped forward and addressed them in a calm but firm voice. She listed the challenges of the trial, praised the courage of every squad, and then paused before announcing a rare honor for extraordinary leadership, tactical instinct, and survival ability under crisis conditions. She said, "We award the Medal of Emergent Command to Cadet Elias Voss of Earth, first year, unarmored, Deathworld born." A silence passed, for half a second, and then the hall filled with applause. Not forced, not polite, but genuine. Every cadet who had doubted him now stood, clapping. Some banged their claws or tails in their species' show of respect. Even the instructors, who had once questioned his presence, nodded with visible approval. One insectoid cadet from the distant world of Sakarn stepped forward and, in a solemn moment, presented Elias with a ceremonial blade, their species' highest symbol of personal respect, only given once in a lifetime. Elias took it gently, bowed his head, and returned to his place, still quiet, still humble. Later that day, Elias was asked to address the academy. At first, he hesitated. He was not a speaker, he preferred action. But he walked to the platform, in the amphitheater, his medal catching the light, and looked out at the sea of alien faces, no longer strangers, but fellow cadets who had walked through fire beside him. His voice, when it came, was calm and clear. "Earth," he began, "is not an easy place to grow. It doesn't give comfort freely. It teaches you to survive when the sky falls, when the rivers flood, when the ground shakes and no one is coming to help. We learn to adapt, to endure, and to never give up, even when no armor protects us. You asked why I don't wear metal. The truth is, we don't wear metal to feel strong. We are strong, so others don't need to." There was no cheer, no loud applause, just a deep, respectful silence. What he had said settled like gravity. Many cadets looked at one another, thoughtful, realizing that strength wasn't always loud, and leadership didn't always come from ranks or titles. In the weeks that followed, Elias became more than just the Deathworlder. He was the one others came to for advice, the one chosen to lead team simulations, the one even the older cadets wanted on their side. He never acted above anyone, never spoke about his achievements unless asked, but he listened, guided, and stood between danger and his team whenever it came. In every corner of the academy, from the drone labs to the training fields, stories of that trial spread, how the human without armor had kept them alive not just with strength, but with clarity and purpose. Elias Voss had come as a curiosity. He stayed as a mystery. But he left that moment, on that stage, as something far more powerful. The aliens no longer questioned what a human could do. Now they believed in what a human could become.